Welcome to Azure Radio Show. This is another episode for Data Science Jumpstart series. I'm so honored that I have joined by my another peer, Paul Yu. And Paul Yu, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Paul Yu, Cloud Solution Architect based in the Los Angeles area. I work with Shamal, assisting higher education customers.
Thank you, Paul, for joining. So the scenario that Paul and I have selected for this particular episode goes like this, that you have, and let me share my screen first so probably you can see how this scenario goes. In this scenario, there is a data scientist. Just like always, this data science scenario is that this data science has experienced a great feature set of the data science virtual machines that Azure Cloud for Research offers. But now he has heard that there are some other better features in which this virtual machine can be managed. The immediate requirement or the scenario which is in his mind is that why not this can be done in a slightly a lab-like environment, or the data science labs is in his mind, where there is not one single machine, there are multiple machines of such data science virtual machines, meaning now this data scientist is progressing towards a lab-like environment where multiple of his researchers or data scientists or student and the faculty, they can collaborate the data science mission together. Doesn't matter it's for 1 day, 1 week, or 1 year. It doesn't matter. The duration can be controlled, but the lab-like environment should be able to give enough assets so that multiple people can do the data science execution on their own instead of one machine and one person, or maybe sharing of the machine. But some things are important for this data scientist or these set of researchers together. Those features are where it should exactly look like a lab environment. When the mission is over, when the execution or the project is over, they should be able to probably put this lab down, and there's another project and another lab is required. So this provisioning and deprovisioning of this lab like environment should be very easy, and very well, it should not take a lot of tasks to complete this task. But some other features which is in their mind is that if it is a lab, then lab should be guarded by some policies, and those policies can be categorized in so many ways. But generally, the labs are guided around the policies such as these, how much these labs are going to cost me over 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 months time frame. What it should be cost efficient. It should be performance, where it should be an adjustable performance. Adjustable performance means today I was doing 8 core 16 gig RAM memory based data science virtual machine. They were good enough for certain project, but suddenly I need to increase or decrease this performance. I want CPU or GPU based selections between the different projects. So this adjustable performance feature should be there, because if I create one lab and then it takes forever to create the second data science machine or lab for another project with different feature, it should be easy. So easy cost wise, easy performance adjustment wise, and then it should be a tighter delivery of the controls there, meaning when this lab should be available, because if you make this lab available or 24 hours, then you have a different cost, different outcome. If you want this lab to only run for 3 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours, 12, so this time based policy controls, how many people can use how many machines, how many total machines are in these. So these are the things which are great policy examples which should be there for the lab management. Basically, this data scientist heard that we have in Azure Cloud for Research another great service called Azure Lab Services, and that's what Paul Yu today is going to help us understand how exactly provision this lab, what it takes to define the basic components. Believe me, so easy, 1 2 3 like a step. You will be surprised that this data science lab setup was so easy. So with that, I will switch over to Paul. You would be able to share your screen now.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Shamal. Let me just go ahead and share my screen here. And yeah, as Shamal mentioned, we do offer Azure Lab Services right within the Azure portal. Pretty simple to stand up. So let me go ahead and just walk you through that process. So I'm over here logged in to my Azure portal, which we all know and love by now. And so we will go ahead and just in the top search bar, I can just type in Lab Services. So type in Lab Services, click on that, and it'll give me a list of the lab accounts that I've already created. But let me walk you through what the setup process would look like. So click on the Add button, and I'll just enter some dummy data here, and then we'll take a look at a real lab account, since the process does take maybe like 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, so lab account. So let me just call this data science account or lab, and I could plug it into a new resource group, DSRG, and I determine which location I want the labs to be created in. And so I'm in the West region, so let me go ahead and choose that. You also have the option to allow a lab creator to choose the location as well. But let's click over to the next tab. And so it's going to ask you here, it's going to ask you for a shared image gallery, right? What a shared image gallery is, it's just another Azure service that allows you to, store your own custom images, okay? And so you can, if you already have one in your organization and you have images stored in there, that's great. You can select that and add it, or you can create a new shared image gallery specifically for this lab account. So let me just go ahead and click New. And here you specify how many minutes you want to wait before shutting down the machine. So what this setting will do is when a user logs off, it'll wait 15 minutes before shutting it down. And this setting here will allow you to make sure that your lab virtual machines are connected to an existing virtual network. So if you already have a virtual network already stood up in your Azure environment, you can make that connection here. We won't do that for now. Let's go ahead and tags. Of course, tagging is a good practice, and so you always want to make sure that you tag your resources so you can track. Okay, so I'm not going to create the lab account here. I just kind of wanted to walk you through the steps in what that would look like. What happens is, and I'll just flip back over to my list of lab services. Once that account is created, then you'll see a list here of your lab accounts. And so let me click on one of these that I've already created. Okay, I'll just choose this one, Engineering Lab. And so when your lab account has been created, first thing you need to do is assign a role. Okay, you need to delegate access to somebody else. Could be you. I mean, if you're the creator, if you created a lab account, you can create labs in the lab portal, but you can also delegate access as well. So let me see. What I'll do here is click Add Role Assignment, and what you need to make sure to do is assign the lab creator role. Okay, the user typically needs to exist in your Azure AD, and so you can easily search for them. So Shamal here, I'm gonna make him a lab creator in my particular lab account. And so let me look for him. There he goes. And that's it. So now Shamal has access to log into the lab portal for this particular lab account and create a lab on his own. All right. So
okay,
that's
so let me understand
thing.
that. So that means you need to have to create the lab account first and assign somebody some role so that they can start creating the labs. Is that what you're describing?
That's
because
correct.
right now I did not see you are creating the lab. You're creating the lab account.
Right. So this is going to be the container for your labs, basically.
Oh.
Yeah. And here you define certain things. Everything is done in the other portal, which I'll show you in a few minutes. But that's the main thing, is just creating the container to store all your labs, assigning access to that. And then over here, I want to show you something pretty important, is down here in the policies, you have the option to enable or disable any of the images that we have in the Azure Marketplace. And so if there's a particular image that you've used in the past that you want to be enabled in your lab account, you can do that all from this section over here. And so I just clicked on Marketplace Images, and by default, it has these handful of images available to me. And so as you can see, the green check mark means it's enabled. Now, obviously, this says not enabled. So let's say, Shamal, you're very interested in the data science virtual machines, right? And I don't see it on the enabled list, right? So all you got to do at this point is let's just do a search, because there's a lot of images out there. Data science virtual machine, and there we go. So we have data science virtual machines on Windows and on Ubuntu, and let's just enable both, right? Because you may want to use both. At least have the option. So I've enabled that. Pretty quick thing to do, and now they're enabled, and you should be able to see them on your end when you create the lab. The other thing you want to make sure is in the shared image gallery, same concept. Shared image gallery, however, is more of a gallery that you control as an organization, right? And so you have your own images, and so I only have one here now, but you can have multiple images, and same concept. You either enable or disable right from here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it. That's all you need to do to get your lab account stood up. From that point forward, you just let the lab creator know that the account is there, and they can log in to the labs portal, which I'll show you over here. So labs portal will be at labs.azure.com, and you log in with the same credentials as you would in the Azure portal, right? Because I created a lab account, I automatically have access to this portal. So let me go ahead and click the sign in button. It should authenticate. And I'm dropped into this user-friendly portal here. Okay, so we'll let this load. Okay. Again, I said pretty user-friendly, not too busy. And first thing you'll notice is this drop-down over here. And so this drop-down will list all of the lab accounts that I have access to. Okay. For the purposes of this walkthrough, I'll just focus on my computer science lab. And so I'm in the computer science lab, and let's say I have two labs running. Let's say I want to create a new lab. All you have to do here is just hit the plus new lab button, and you'll get this wizard-like interface that will basically walk you through the steps in creating a lab. So,
okay.
So I'll walk you through the steps. Won't create one because it takes about 20, 30, 40 minutes, depending on the image that you're building from. But I'll walk you through the steps in how to create. So first thing you want to do is give your lab a name. Mm-hmm. Data science lab. And then down here, you have the option to choose an image as your base VM template. Okay. As you can see here, the list of images that we saw on the other Azure portal, they're all listed. And what's also listed is the brand new data science virtual machines that I've enabled for this lab account. Okay, so we can choose our base image to be a data science virtual image, a virtual machine image, and here you choose how big or small you want the virtual machine to be. Okay, so depending on your requirements, you choose the size. We have a wide range of options for you, including GPU-based virtual machines. Also, VMs that include nested virtualization, if that's a requirement for you. Okay. In this particular case, data science virtual machines, probably GPUs are not needed at this point in time, so we'll go ahead and go with the medium size virtual machine. And right here, it shows you the price per hour, which is always good. You always want to make sure that you're keeping costs low, right? or you don't want to be surprised with the bill at the end of the month. So it's always good to know up front. Okay, I've enabled for this lab account that the lab creator can choose their location, and so if they didn't have that option, it'll just be grayed out or limited to just the one location. But in my case, I have the option to choose. I'll choose United States and hit next. Now here is where you set the credentials for the virtual machines, and you'll notice the toggle button here is set to on. It's going to use the same credentials for each virtual machine initially. I mean, you have the option to change that, but let me go ahead and set a good password here. Okay, and then go to the last step. Okay, so last step here is another lab policy that you could put in place. Okay, so when you set up these labs, what you do is you schedule them during a time in which you know you're going to need to use them. But what you can do as an additional option for lab users is that you can add a quota for each user. Basically give them a length of time in which they can log in, do their work outside of your normal scheduled hours. And so here what we're saying is we're going to have a schedule, but if the data scientist needs to access this machine outside of normal schedule, they have 10 hours to work with. Okay? And so that's what we're setting here. Obviously, you can increase that to whatever amount fits within your budget. Okay. Again, we have the option, so the lab creator can also choose that they want to shut down the VM once the user disconnects, and then you can specify how long to wait before they shut down. Okay. I'm not going to hit finish because it says right here that it's going to take up to 20 minutes for the lab to create. But that's the process in creating a lab. Okay.
Okay, so basically what I understand is this is going to be your template virtual machine through which you can create the clones out of it very quickly. Is that what you're doing? Oh,
that's correct. Yeah. So you're exactly right. This is the image that we're going to stamp out for all the researchers.
Okay, cool.
All right. So let me just close out of that and show you what a built lab looks like. So discard that. And I will click into this particular lab. So once your lab has been built, you'll see a tile there. All you have to do is click on it, and it'll take you to this dashboard. Okay. Dashboard is a pretty neat place to view your costs and billing. Again, all the costing is here up front, so you don't get hit with the surprise. And has a total breakdown based on the settings that you've configured for the lab, right? So quota hours, how many users per hour, right? And the total cost. Okay. Down here on the left-hand navigation, you'll see a couple of interesting options. So if I click on template, and the same navigation is down here on the bottom, it's just in tile format. So I'll click on template. What this allows you to do basically is, this is the template that we configured. This is your base image. Let's say, for example, 1 week into the lab, you find out that you're missing a piece of software or you forgot a configuration. What you can do at that point is stop the template, connect to the virtual machine, using RDP or SSH, depending on which machine you deploy. Connect to the machine, do your installation, and then what you could do is then publish. What that will do is it will delete from your existing virtual machines and then redeploy with your latest changes.
Okay, so here I see one more button, export to the shared image gallery. Does that mean that now my custom tools installation can become the base image in that gallery?
That's correct. Yeah. That way you don't have to keep going back and modifying. So yeah, that's exactly it. So if you hit this, you just give it a new image name and you hit export, and it'll deploy it into your shared image gallery.
I think it is so that now another lab creator like me does not have to start over again, and he can use my image to start from there, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yep. All right. So let's say we're super happy with the template, and over here we are now ready to begin adding users, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So we could go a couple different ways with this. If I click on virtual machine pool, here I have the ability to decide how many machines I want in the pool,
Mhm.
right? So if I want to have 20, I can say I want a maximum number of 20, right?
Mhm.
I won't click that now, but this is where you would actually manage all the individual virtual machines that get deployed, right? And so you can start them, you can reset them, or you can, show some details around that virtual machine.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay? So pool is going. We're happy with the image. Now we need to invite users into it. So
Mhm.
what you would do at this point is just click this add users button, and we have two options. We can add them via email, by email address,
Mhm.
or if we have a huge list of users, we can have a CSV with all the users and just bulk upload them. Right? And so when you want to add a user by email, just as simple as typing in their email address.
So these are your peers, the peer researchers, peer data scientists whose email addresses and you're inviting them by email. Does it matter? It is a Microsoft email or outside email. It doesn't matter, right?
No, it doesn't matter, and that's the nice part about this is, yeah, it could be a Outlook, could be Gmail. Essentially, what it maps out to is, you know, they have an email address to receive the invitation.
Nice, nice.
Once they receive the invitation, they'll say, "Hey, you've been invited," and then you click the register button on the email, and they can gain access to your lab.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah.
One pretty important feature that I want to highlight here is this restrict access.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what this does is it ensures that the only people that can access these virtual machines are the people that you've invited, right? Explicitly. If this is turned off, anybody with the URL could come in and gain access to it. So you want to make sure you have that locked down, right?
So restrict access by email ID.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Okay. So once you've added your users into this list here,
Mm-hmm.
you need to send the invitation. And so you can hit this button here, and it'll, mass email all the users.
Ah. So
Okay?
this is the invitation email that you can regenerate, right? That's what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Because I've already sent the invite out, but you can resend it at any point in time.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
Okay.
And what is this registration link? Is it because I don't want to send email, but I have a registration link or
Yes.
something?
And that's what I was referring to. So anybody that has, you know that restrict access,
Uh-huh.
if this was turned off, anybody with this link can come and register for your lab.
Can start the registration for your lab.
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay. Okay.
one use case where this might be handy is, let's say you're running a hackathon, and where you don't really know everybody's email addresses up front, you can just announce and say, "Hey, if you want to register and use these machines, here's the link to register."
And you know that audience, you trust that audience.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Otherwise, just being a little more cautious, I would keep the flag on, invite the users, and send them the email.
Only the users from these email address can
Right,
register and use my lab. Okay, got
right, right.
it.
Okay. So with that, I think the only other thing that we didn't talk about here on this page is quota hours, right? So you can see here, I have a quota set for my users, multiple Paul U's. I only had 1 hour set as my quota, and you can see I already burned through them, right? So what do? What you can do is click on here,
Mm-hmm.
you could increase the quota, right? And so if you do it by using the button at the top, it's going to increase it for everybody. You can also hover over the person, click this little 3-dot button, and you can adjust it for this one user.
Oh,
Okay. I want to adjust it, so now I have an increase of quota for my user.
makes sense. Makes sense. Okay.
Okay. So those are users. Next thing you need to do with your lab is you need to schedule it. Okay. In this particular lab, I have scheduled it for Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Uh-huh.
You can add a new schedule or you can modify. Okay. Standard, when you add a new scheduled event, you choose the event time, right? Standard is start and stop, and you can choose start only or stop only. Standard is generally the way I set them up so that they start at 1, and then as soon as 3 p.m. hits, they shut down.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
so,
like, it start at 7 a.m. and whenever they want to shut it off, let them shut it off, right?
yes,
That's okay.
exactly. Okay, set the time zone. That's important, and then you can set this to repeat. Okay, so let's say I want it. Wait a minute. Let's say I just want to adjust the schedule. So let me click on that schedule. Let me click it over here. And these are for my researchers. So I want to make sure that it's available to them from 8 to 5 p.m., right? Oops, not 5 a.m. 5 p.m. Okay. And you can set the reoccurrence. So I want to make sure it's on Monday through Friday. And here, this is interesting. It will run until this particular date. So if you're working on a research project where you know has a finite period of time, you can actually set this up to run, let's say, through the end of June 5th. And then you just click save. And there, now I've just modified my lab schedule. So I know that my labs will be running at these times.
Nice, very nice, very nice. What else, other settings I can do for this lab? Anything in the settings section? Not much.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, this is the same thing when you were creating the template, but yeah, if you wanted to modify the minutes before shutdown or the do not shut down, you can change that over here. But yeah, as you can see, it's a pretty simple interface, really easy to get started with. And then once the student receives their notification, what they'll see is, and let's see if I can log in as a student. Just make sure, yeah. Open a private window.
So you are now logging as a researcher who will be
As
the
a
user
researcher.
of this VM,
Yes.
cloned VM. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So let me log in as a researcher. What you would do is you would instruct the lab users to, they'll get an email with the registration link. You can also send them the registration link, but basically they're going to be navigating back over to the same URL, labs.azure.com. And so let me log in over here. And you can see I'm already logged in and it's pre-registered. And so this is the screen that a lab user would see. So looks a little different. And at this point now, I could only see the machines that I have access to. Okay. And so I have access to a data science virtual machine. And here I can toggle it on or off. And so right now it's running and you can see exactly how many hours I've used as part of my quota. Okay. In order to connect to it, just normal processes that you're probably accustomed to. So just clicking this little icon down here will download a RDP file, and you can just connect to it using remote desktop. If it was Ubuntu, you connect to it over SSH. So
Nice.
that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you very much. I think this is wonderful service where I can very quickly clone whatever I was doing on a single data science virtual machine, and the process looks so easy. That's very easy feel here. I'm taking from it from all
Yeah,
this process. Yeah.
yeah,
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for joining again, and I really appreciate what you presented today.
yeah. No problem. Happy to be here.
Thank you guys. Thanks for joining. And please keep subscribing to the channel because now you're seeing the episodes are coming so frequently. It's better you subscribe and press the bell icon because then you can get notified when the new episode is ready. All my peers, myself, and great specialists, they are putting these videos and episodes with me. And just keep subscribing and be updated what we are offering here. Thanks for joining again. See you in the next episode with Data Science Jumpstart. Thanks for joining again. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.